Hello and welcome to this week's track guide. This week we are on the historical track of Silverstone. First of all, some quick facts. We have 18 turns, we have 2 DRS zones. The circuit length is about 5.8 kilometers, almost 5.9 kilometers long. Since the track is situated in Great Britain, you would obviously want to have a wet setup on your backhand. The tires that we are going to be using are the C3, C2, C1 tires, so the most durable tires, C3 being the soft tires, C1 being the hard tire, so very durable. So strategy wise, we're thinking a one-stop strategy from soft to medium or medium to soft. We also had some people lapping lap 1 onto those mediums so they can make the race distance, so be careful at the end of the race with your tires. You would want to pit around lap 10, lap 9 if you want to do an undercut onto those medium tires, 16 laps on the medium tires, and then on the soft tires if you're running the alternate strategy. Also, I forgot to mention that this is a 26 lap race. Now I'm going to show you my hot lap. After that I'm going to talk about the hot lap. After that we will have the setup, and that's basically it. So I hear you in a minute. So coming out of Vale and Club Corner right here, you would want to be very smooth on your throttle. I'm going to talk about Vale at the end of the hot lap. So for Club, you obviously would want to get as close as possible to that red sausage curb on the right hand side. Don't shave off too much speed, obviously. Then as we're starting lap on the Lewis Hamilton straight, going down to turn 1 Abbey, you would want to cut as much as possible of that curb right here. Be really careful with your steering as you want to be really smooth. You don't want to scrape off any extra speed that you gained through cutting that corner. Then as we're coming into the arena section, on the left hand side you want to start braking as soon as the curb starts. For this corner you would also want to rapidly downshift down to third. Be careful on the brake, just don't apply too much brakes just before the apex, because there is a small elevation change when you're coming to this apex right here. Then get as close to the red sausage curb as possible. You sort of fly through this corner, so you wouldn't want to upshift to fourth at the apex, because then you could be either understeering towards the towards there, or you could be oversteering and losing the rear end, because the rear end is kind of squirrely through here. Then as you're coming out of the corner, as you're on the exit, upshift fourth to give you a bit more extra rotation to get a better line for the next corner in the arena section. Take a really wide line. If you're using the racing line, you need to brake a bit earlier than the line suggests, because you are going to be on like full throttle just a tiny bit, and the racing line doesn't account for that. Again, really wide line. Then as you're coming to this corner, it's kind of a blind apex type of deal, because you can't really see the corner. Down to second gear, you can do third gear like I did right here, you need to be a bit closer to the apex as well. You can use fourth gear to give you a bit more extra rotation and a bit more stability out of that corner. It's very, very important to be as smooth as possible and be really delicate with the throttle application. See, as I ease off the steering, I apply more throttle input. It's basically the reverse of trail braking coming out of this corner right here. You can use, or you can also use this little runoff, this little AstroTurf. Obviously, don't go too far, but it gives you a bit more room to play with, and also costs you a little bit of time. But if that brings you more stability and more consistency, then I don't see why you shouldn't use that. Then the corner before Wellington straight, just like Abbey, you want to cut as much as possible without shaving too much speed. Then coming down to sector 2, coming down to Brooklands, you would want to start braking at the 50-meter board. See how I position my car on the curb to give me a bit more of a better entry angle. Then as soon as we pass the 50-meter board, you need to be really really good at trail braking, for Brooklands. Down to fourth, you can do kind of like 2 brake applications, like obviously trail braking, but if you feel like you carry too much speed, like on Silverstone, it's all about carrying the speed through corners. If you're carrying too much speed, then you can also get on the brake a bit harder at this point, just to make sure you don't overshoot the corner and actually go out wide right there. Then looking at the corner itself, you would obviously want to cut as much as possible by also being as stable as possible. Really close to an invalidation right there. As you can see, I am just slightly on the white line on the right hand side tire right there. Then as soon as you're passing the apex, dead on the throttle very early. Then for the Laffield corner, a really weird corner in these cars. You would want to go for a double apex approach, as at least that's how I do it. Down to third, up to fourth, just before you come to the middle of the corner, the car kinda understeers, or like I get the feeling that the car kinda understeers through this corner. So I've been watching one of my old track guides on Silverstone, and I actually did upshift to fifth, which actually gives you an insane amount of rotation and also very stable out of the corner exit. So you could probably do it in fourth, but then again, you have a bit of the problem that you can easily spin out. So going up to fifth, giving you that extra rotation and that extra stability on exit could be the way and could gain you more time, opposed to what I did right here. So just saying that going up to fifth is a viable option in this corner. Then coming out of this corner, out of Laffield, you can use this runoff or like AstroTurf right there. Obviously, don't go out too wide. Then coming down to Woodcut, you would obviously want to cut as much as possible. You would want to have a line just like right here. Go for really close approach to the wall at the end right there. Obviously, again, be as smooth as possible. It's all about just carrying that speed through corners. Now, Cop's a very difficult corner, which your car is really on the edge in the race, especially on high fuel. Try not to have your car enrich through there, especially when following a car. You're going to spin out very easily. The tires are very durable, so if you're not in dirty air, you can probably do it flat out. But I would, for security, like for being just on the safer side, I would always go lean through that corner, at least at the beginning of the race. So now coming back to talking about the actual corner, at the 50-meter board, you just want to send your car in, keep your steering as consistent as possible. If you just put too much steering input in, at one point it's going to be very hard to correct that oversteer, or it's very easy to lose the car. Obviously, you would want to focus on the exit more than on the entry. Just don't shave off too much speed through this corner, as it's also important for the next corner section. Maggots, Beckets, and Chapel. For the first part right here, get as close to that red sausage cap as possible. I actually clipped it right there, which isn't too bad on this corner section Maggots. And then coming to Beckets, obviously, you would want to cut as much curb as possible right here, so you are on the right hand side of the road, which then gives you a good entry into Beckets right here. Cut as much curb on that left hand side so you can set yourself up for a very, very good exit. It's all about slow, well, not ideally in this corner, so in fast out, but you would want to focus on the exit more than on the entry. So if you mess up this part, just try to focus on the exit out of Chapel. Then, as you are coming to the left, you want to throw in your car to the right. Try to cut as much of that curb as possible, but more towards the late end right here. You don't want to cut it too early, as that can lead to you then understeering and ending up in that grass bit right here. So just make sure to throw your car in late, or rather late than early, and this will guarantee you a really, really good exit. You can also, if you understeer a bit too much, you can put that left-hand side tire on this curb right there. Then DRS, stay close to the left-hand side. That actually can gain you a couple of thousands. Then coming to Stowe Corner, again, when the curb starts, you would want to already turn in. You don't want to brake when you're just having the 50 meter board out of your sight. That's where you want to brake. You would want to downshift 3 gears and then up 1 gear. You can go a bit closer to the apex right there and be on the throttle as early as possible. It's also, again, carrying about it's about carrying that speed through this corner right there. Then you are going to be a bit understeery through the latter part of this off Stowe, so just make sure not to come out too wide. Lift if necessary. You can place your car on this black and white curb right here. Then coming into a Vale, again, as soon as the curb on the right hand side starts, you would want to rapidly downshift. Engine braking is crucial in this corner section. Also, dry braking, you would want to turn it earlier than you might think. You can clip this inside sausage curb right there. It doesn't unsettle your car as much as you would think it does. Then it's very crucial to keep the throttle at a constant application. A thing that there you see. You probably saw that I kind of lifted off right there, which then cost me a bit of time. You would rather have like a low constant, like 50 or 60% throttle application instead of going 75 and needing to lift off. So make sure you have a constant application of throttle through Vale. Then get as close to this red sausage curb as possible. Be very delicate on the throttle on the exit right there. Your weight is a bit messed up through here, so it's very easy to spin out, especially on very used tires. Then you can go as far out wide as this black and white curb. The lap before, I actually went too far out wide, which then cost me a lot of time. As you can see, my delta just dwindling down. Then it's just smooth sailing through club. Be as smooth as possible on this lap. And yeah, that's basically it. So let's talk about my setup now. 2.6 wings, pretty standard. I also, you can also run 2.5 wings, but it's a bit more unstable. You would need to up your differential. I have a differential of 55-55. You can decrease the on throttle differential to give you a bit more extra rotation. Suspension geometry, I actually went with right, left, 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 because when I tried 3.6 wings, the car was a bit more responsive on the front end, but not as responsive as I wanted it to be, so I decreased the front wing to 2.6 and tried right, left, 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 and it gave me actually more turn-ins. So if you struggle with turn-in on the front end, you can try this suspension geometry. The suspension itself is 110-3923, which I think is a pretty good race setup as well. You can also, if you want to have the ultimate rotation, you can go 110 210 or 110, 110. So it's basically on your preference. Brakes is 150, and tires are as low as they can go, with the nature of the tires being the C3, C2, C1 tires. They are very durable. The softs don't fall off that much, as well as the mediums. So just keep that in mind as well. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments or DM me on Discord. I'm Fraser, and I hope we will see each other on the racetrack.